What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Reality TV RHAPpy Hour. My name is Jordan Parhar, and as always, during the Big Brother 18 season, I'm here with you to talk about the live feeds and everything going down in the BB house on a Monday night. Here with the live feed correspondents, as per usual. Unfortunately, today we do not have the great Brent Walcomot. Brent is away. He's on business in Las Vegas. He's busy gambling and doing other things. Yeah, he's getting paid to do it. It's great. So unfortunately, no Brent tonight, but the rest of the crew is here with me, and we're going to break down everything that's happening on the feeds. First, he's a man who is not going to get up in the middle of this show to go to the bathroom like he did at RHAPcon. It's the great Alex Kidwell, ladies and gentlemen. Alex, how are you?
Jordan, it's not audible. It's not. You can't. It's not something you can hear in the audio podcast. I was supposed to stay in the house, Jordan. Killing me here. God, I'm voting you out so fast. It's not even.
Jordan's the king of throwing people under the bus.
Yeah, Taryn would know. I am the king of doing that.
I'm about to go full Cindy with an S on you, dude.
Oh, no, nobody.
Maybe half Cindy with it.
Yeah. Bro, you never go full Cindy. You never go full Cindy. I'm actually, and I've got a new studio for those of you who are watching live on this Google Hangout here, and I kind of. I think back in the day, unless I completely dreamed this, I'm pretty sure this man had a similar setup. It's the great Taryn Armstrong. Taryn, is that correct?
Yes, somewhat. I think the wall was pretty similar, colored, but it wasn't like full green screen effect, but similar. Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. Maybe we'll get some actual green screen going on in some of these episodes down the line. Unfortunately, I just got this set up recently, so I wasn't able to pull off anything today. And
you have no idea. I'm a video editor. The things I could do to you right now.
Yeah, I'm excited for the potential here. I'm excited.
Taryn,
good things are coming.
Good things are coming. I'm excited for maybe Taryn. I might need to fly you out, get you over to the 604, and get you to take a look at all this, and maybe show me some of this. I don't know, the software and stuff I need to use to make. I don't know. Can you get a picture of Glenn behind me? Glenn and Jose and Devin, bro. I want my Mount Rushmore of favorite Big Brother house guests.
Just all praising you and on the sides.
Exactly. I think having Rennie over my shoulder too would be kind of cool as well. That would be something like that. So I'll work on the concept art and then I'll send it to you, and then maybe we can figure something out.
I'm thinking like Jose on one shoulder and Ginger Ninja on the other, one with a.
Yeah, I feel like
so is the solution that you're not supposed to never listen to either guardian angel? Is that really?
It's gonna Jose is the savior, and Ginger Ninja is the bad influence. Let's say.
And the proper human response is la 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 la.
Oh man!
Get out of my head, you demons!
Exactly. So I'm finally out of the closet, guys. I'm here to announce that today. I'm out of the closet. It's been a long time coming. I've been waiting to come out and to make this announcement, but I'm really thrilled to be sharing that with all of you today. And I think this is going to be a really fun show, even though we don't have Brent. That's a little sad. I'm bummed out because we're not going to get Brent's rants or anything. So, Taryn, I am expecting you to really make up for the loss of Brent tonight, since he is your bae.
Oh, absolutely. And also, note to Scott, before you post this episode, cut out the part where Jordan is talking about his new background and just leave out the closet, or leave in the closet stuff, please.
Leave in the closet, okay. We'll just leave that part in there. Yeah. Okay, so just to set things up for you guys who are watching us live on robhasawebsite.com, if you're new to this show, we talk during the Big Brother 18 season. We're only talking about the live feeds, is what's going down there. We will talk a little bit about the episodes, but mainly we're going to be focusing on what's going on in the feed. So if you do not want to know any spoilers or what's going on in terms of that, now is your chance to bow out, and we're going to keep going on with the rest of this show here. I would insert the spoiler song here if I had a mixer, but again, if you were here last week, I don't have that. In the audio version, you will hear it right about now. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and mainly this show is fueled by you guys. I mean, we've got, well, initially the first show we did, we had an hour, and then we cut it short. Last week, we had people say, go for 3 hours, why don't you go longer? So we went for 2 hours. This week, I don't know how long we're going, but we're going to go for a while, and we're going to talk about the feeds and all this kind of stuff. And we need your questions to keep the show going. So if you want to get those questions in, 2 ways to do that. The first way is to leave a comment on the YouTube video below. That's actually the easiest way for me to see it during the show, just because I myself monitor the questions while things are going on, so it's kind of hard to pull stuff from Twitter while kind of balancing the hosting duties at the same time. So if you can do that on YouTube, that'll make my life a lot easier. But if not, that's okay. You can also tweet me. I'm at Jordan Parhar. Use hashtag RHAPpy, and if I can't, and we don't answer it on the show, I'll try to answer it on Twitter after the broadcast is over. Okay, guys, let's jump right into it then. So basically, I think the big talk of the town is that Frank has kind of been, we saw last night he was kind of exposed. We really got to see on the show what exactly it was that he was doing. We got the infamous hashtag #AskSlapgate on the episode last night. So definitely interesting turn of events for Frank, but something that feed watchers have been seeing for a little while here. Taryn, let's talk to you a little bit because we had Alex on RHAPpy last night. In terms of what's going on in the House right now, has there been really any change? Last we heard was Bridget won the veto. We had Paul, Tiffany, and Bronte on the block. Has the veto ceremony happened at this hour?
It has, and the veto is not used.
So there we go. So the veto has not been used. Nominations are staying the same. So Taryn, what's it looking like? Last night, Alex said it was pretty much a done deal that Tiffany is going home. If you had to put a percent chance on it right now, if you were a betting man, Taryn, what percent chance would you say that Tiffany goes home this week?
I'd say probably like 80, 85. There is some small hope for Tiffany. Nicole has talked about, why are we sending Tiffany out when we can send Bronte out? Tiffany's somebody that's on her side. She's a number. This is the Derek logic. Why get out an ally when you can get out somebody else? Nicole has kind of backed off from that, but Davon has also started along this line. Tiffany has done a really good job with Davon this week. She has laid very low. Everybody's talking about how she's much calmer now. And Davon is like, hey, Tiffany's willing to work with me. She's much more calm now. I kind of want to see her stay. She talked to Michelle about it. Michelle is kind of on board. Corey was a little bit on board after he talked to Nicole a little bit earlier in the day. So there's a lot of talk about potentially keeping Tiffany, but it's a big move to make at this point because it's been so locked in for so long that I'm not sure there's enough time for it to take hold.
So if Tiffany does stay in the House, then Alex, who would be going home, Paul or Bronte?
Yeah, I mean, if things were it would require some kind of a flip, and I guess things would have to change in such a way that it's not really clear, that if whatever flip would be contingent on kind of burying someone else to save Tiffany. I think it's probably Bronte that has been discussed a lot more. Paul seems to be in a pretty good position. He's certainly got people like Paulie who I don't think have any interest in getting rid of him. So that really helps because I think Paulie is somebody that is in a position right now where people don't really want to make a move. There's like a few key people in the 8-pack I think that nobody really wants to make a move to change things away from Tiffany unless these people are on board. I feel like Paulie is kind of one of those in that he's like both him and Nicole are kind of getting conversations with everyone. They're getting information from all sides, and I feel like he's really someone that people are depending on. Like if something was going to change, I feel like Paulie would need to be on board for it.
Okay, interesting stuff there then. So it looks like then Tiffany is indeed going to be going home, which is really a huge bummer, I think, for a lot of people, especially just with how things have shaken out. Has there been any additional talk about Frank, Taryn? I know things have really turned on Frank lately. We saw a lot of it last night in the episode. Has Frank gotten the message that people aren't liking his jokes and they aren't liking these types of actions, or has he already kind of forgotten about this?
Well, I mean, very much to Frank's credit, after Paulie had a talk with him about, like, hey, this is not cool, you should not be doing this, he has definitely backed off. He hasn't been pinching any butts lately. He's still kind of a jerk, right? He's still Frank. But he has backed off. He's a little bit more respectful. And Nicole, like I said, she's been kind of talking about some different changes. She's talking about how she's not super trusting of Davon at the moment, and she said to herself, look, a lot of people, nobody trusts Frank anymore, but Frank isn't coming after me. maybe I should work with him. Maybe I shouldn't go after Frank because nobody else is willing to work with him. Maybe I should try and use him. I don't think that that's good logic on her part. I think that's way too big a move. But it's definitely something that's in her head, and that's a lot more that Frank had coming into this week and throughout this week than he did before. So things could be looking up for Frank. He's got one person that's willing to not take him out, potentially.
Hey, one is better than zero, right? Alex, what exactly was it that sparked this for Da'Vonne, or for Nicole, sorry, to kind of get these thoughts about Da'Vonne? Did she just have a dream like Shambo and Survivor Samoa? Or did somebody say something? What exactly was it from your perspective?
Well, people have called us out for being critical of Da'Vonne up to this point, and she certainly has played a strong game in a lot of respects. But I think when we were critical of her, this is the kind of thing we were worried about, right? It's like if you're starting a lot of exchanges and dialogues about like potential targets, and you're spitballing a lot of different names in week 1 and week 2. Then don't be shocked when in week 3 one of your allies, who is kind of known for playing a bit of a fear-based game, starts to like just reflect on that too much and think, well, if she could be throwing out these people's names, how do I know she's not throwing out my name? And it's that kind of like self-induced paranoia as a result of earlier actions from Da'Vonne that I think really sparked this, incorporated with, I think, a big part of what Nicole was hoping to use to like make sure everyone was going to bury Frank is this idea that Bridget doesn't know Frank won the roadkill and nominated her and nominated Bronte, and they were really going to that was their plan, to just bury him with the people he has. Frank talked to Bridget and apparently got her to like thank him for nominating her. I mean, it's ridiculous how like she was okay with it all, and he told that to Nicole, and that was, I think, a big piece of information that Nicole was hoping to use to bury Frank. I think the fact that Frank is, okay, he's dodged that bullet now. I think it's a bit of like, I don't want Frank to survive this situation and have it come back on me. I think it's the fact that if a big target has to go next week, well, Frank could win a competition and save himself and come at me, and Da'Vonne really isn't a big competitive threat. So I don't like the line of logic, but I think that's where it is.
A big part of it too is that this whole Showmance Alliance thing that Da'Vonne is not into, this Nicole, Corey, Paulie, and Zakiya alliance that she is included in, she has been running her mouth about it, talking about how she doesn't want to be a part of it, and Nicole has kind of caught on to this. She realized that Da'Vonne told James about it, and this is a big reason why she's being sketched out at the moment. Just like why is she running her mouth about this? Clearly she's not trusting of me, and she's constantly talking about not trusting showmances and telling me that I'm a liability because of my showmance with Corey. So I think that's really adding up as far as the relationship goes.
Right, and then also you've got Nicole and Corey were like lying to James that 5 existed, and they're pretty strongly aware. I mean, they think, and it's true, that Da'Vonne is the one that told James about that. So the fact that they were keeping James an ally in the dark about something while Da'Vonne was coming clean about it doesn't rub them the right way at all.
I just want to go back to Da'Vonne a little bit in this showmance thing, because we've seen that on the episode, the last 2 episodes, I believe, just talk about Da'Vonne not wanting to go forward with this. You guys are mentioning this, that she's going around the house and talking about it. Taryn, do you think that like Da'Vonne has some like showmance PTSD from last year? Is that why? Like, is she said specifically why she's so anti-showmance? Because to me, I don't get what, I just don't understand it. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't think she's given a specific reason. But she's talked about it. She's like, everyone knows my thing about showmances. Like Nicole knows how I feel about showmances. So why is she getting in a showmance with Corey? Like, I really think it's just that she is a big fan, and there's this conception out there about showmances that fans have that are like, oh, a showmance is a big target on your back. Like, that's one of those things, like the floater misconception and stuff like that, where there's a lot of just stuff that's out there in the fanverse that really like sinks into your head, and I think that's one of the things that Da'Vonne is really stuck with, and she really feels that like having a showmance is a liability, and being aligned with a showmance is a liability, and everything about showmance equals bad in her eyes.
Hey, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just cute.
That really surprised me too last night. Nicole admitting that Corey is the best looking guy she's ever seen or something like that. Like, Ugh, really, Corey? That just surprised me a little bit. But hey, to each is their own. Let's talk about the 8-pack here. I mean, I think that now, we're coming out of this week. It seems like Tiffany is going to go. We're going to have the first casualty of the 8-pack. What are the factions looking like right now, Alex? Do we still have, I guess, what's the name of that those 5 girls? Do they have a new name now? Should they call themselves like Core 4 or something?
They were just going with Fatal 4, which is kind of funny since Tiffany gave them Fatal 5. So yeah, I've found it kind of amusing that they're like, thanks for the name, bye girl. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's her own fault because they were able to stick with the alliteration. She should have chose one that couldn't work with a 4.
So I don't know. Alive 5, I guess that would have worked. Or I guess not alliteration, but I guess just something that rhymed or something.
Rhymed, yeah.
Yes.
But then they would go with Core 4 and it wouldn't work again. See,
exactly.
It's hard, man.
It's very tough.
It's hard making alliance names.
Why can't these people just smart and call themselves like the Brain Trust or something else that allows them to like add someone and lie and say they were in it the whole time? You know what I mean? Like
the Sesternino doctrine, right? The bomb squad. It's I don't get it, but these guys are so dumb. They just won't learn. So those girls are together then, the Fatal 4, if you will. So even though Nicole's got some distrust with Devon, she's pretending like everything's good, Taryn?
Yeah, so this whole like dynamic is pretty complicated. Like this Fatal 4 like really was the power in the house, but they've been getting further and further apart, and I really think a lot of it is due to Devon's scheming. She goes back and forth and tells everybody secrets, and now nobody really trusts each other, and her paranoia about the showmances is really like causing them to this wedge to be driven in between them. It's like when it's like in a relationship when one person's like super paranoid about the other one cheating, so bad that it drives them away, and then they end up cheating on them. It's like you're making it happen, and so. It's being driven apart. It went from Fatal 5 to Fatal 4, and now it's really not even a thing anymore. They're really not together. Nicole is talking about targeting Day soon. Day is talking about targeting people like Corey so that she can, strike at Nicole without having to strike at Nicole because she wants Nicole back. There's a lot of strife happening, and I mean this is a good thing because this twist could have made it so that this wasn't going to happen, but it is. These players are. They're antsy.
Yeah, and it really is. It's almost to me hard to put a label on any kind of situation right now. It's almost like someone this weekend really just took the whole snow globe and shook it up completely. You know what I mean? So we'll see where things settle. But as of right now, it's going to be some kind of, I don't know. If assuming things stay the same and Tiffany goes, maybe Frank's Angels or whatever they want to call themselves, Frank and the new girls against the Devon contingent, and then there's a lot of people in the middle that'll like have to pick a side potentially.
Yeah, Bridget winning this HOH really caused this week to kind of slow down where it could have been explosive. However, if Frank is safe again next week, I expect it to go into chaos. There will be a lot of people throwing each other under the bus, and it's just going to go full crazy mode.
So do we want to cheer then for Frank to be safe again just to lead to that chaos? Because I think that sounds fun to me.
I mean, it absolutely could be. I mean, a lot of people are rooting against Frank, though, and, if he is safe again and this chaos happens, then he could be staying a lot further into the game. And so it's one of those situations where, like, are you rooting for the players you want to root for, or are you rooting for chaos? And I think we're going to get a split as far as the fans go.
And I think, honestly, a lot of fans, in the last couple of days, a lot of fans have been critical of Nicole because she seems to be, like, siding more with Frank. And I think, even if a lot of that is, like, anti-Frank sentiment, I do think there's an element of some people like the idea of, like, wasn't this battle back intended for Frank anyways? Like, I think there is an element of, like, we would get some great TV if Frank does, not totally find out the fixes in, gets blindsided next week, battles back, and then we get, like, BB14 Frank to the extreme, you know what I mean? So I think that could also be very fun, even if it's not quite as chaotic. And interestingly enough, I think this is still the kind of group where, like, there's a high enough competitive drive with the bulk of them, and also like a low enough skill level that it will make for a really interesting home stretch.
So if we're looking at the alliances then, so the the fatal 5 is well done because Tiffany's going to go, and then I guess the fatal 4 you're saying Taryn is splitting off. So what exactly are we left with here, Alex? Who is Frank with? That you said Frank's Angels. So is that Frank and does Frank actually have Bridget and the Spy Girls? Is that a thing, or is that just like an imaginary thing you just ripped off of from Keith Henderson for BB13?
I think that's the thing that Frank is trying to build right now. He definitely has Bridget. I can't believe that Bridget is totally cool with him doing the roadkill thing. But if we're past that bridge, then
And quick timeout, Alex. So
good shape there.
So she knows about the week 1 roadkill and the roadkill that he just won?
Yeah, and thanked him for the week 1 nomination. I mean, the way he sold it was like that it's kept you like from being a target and you were totally safe, and like she just, I mean, I don't know if she bought it, but she certainly, like, she bought it. I mean, that was not her playing Frank. Bridget is too straightforward. I don't think I mean, we'll see, but I mean, and then now he's working on Bronte now, it seems like. I think he's really trying to build trust with Bronte, and he's trying to, I think he wants James and Natalie, too. So I think he wants to make that his new side. Yeah.
So he's trying to build trust with Bronte, yet he's not. What is he going to do? Say, hey, Bronte, just so you know, I did a huge favor for you. I nominated you with the roadkill. I tried to get you out again, but, it's all good. Like, I'm like, what?
I think that's exactly his line. You're trying to be funny, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh geez, Frank. Okay, so he's trying to build this. So Frank is in fact catching on to the idea that the 8-pack is crumbling, Taryn.
Well, he's kind of the one crumbling it. He thinks they're all loyal to him, and he's still making these plans.
That's the thing, is like he thinks everything else is in stasis and he's just adding, whereas in reality he's like losing quicker than he can possibly add, and he's just totally unaware of that fact. Yeah.
When he was talking to Bridget, he was saying things like, they can't get me out, like I'm completely safe right now, I'm going to be here for a while, like nobody's coming after me, and it's the furthest thing from the truth.
Oh man, I love it, Frank.
Even Bridget at this point has been given more information about the danger Frank's in than Frank seems to be aware of himself. Like, there's been a couple of people who told Bridget, like, just so you know, like, it's maybe okay for you to be close to Frank because he's always going to go before you, but just be aware that, like, some people might want to go after him in a week or two. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, that is the thing that points to potentially, like, a lot of people are saying Bridget is 100% under Frank's spell. I think that she is aware of what he's doing and is just like okay with it. I don't think that she's like under his spells so much that she's just like, I want to go along with this, because like she hasn't told him the little bit of information she knows about him being in danger. Like she's not so under his spell that she's like ratting out her 2 spy girl allies, right? Like I think that she's certainly going to do what he wants, and she is going to try to go as far as she can with him. But I don't think she is somebody like say like a Gina Marie who's just like under Andy's spell completely, right? Like, but obviously what she's doing is not good, and she's going into the line of fire because of it.
It's a really good point.
Okay, so we got that going on. Then we've got the Fatal 4 fractured. So this 5 then is the 4. I guess Davon is not down, but are those 4 working together then, Alex? Is this Showmance Alliance a thing? Like, because we haven't really talked about where Paulie and Corey and Zakiya are really at, and I know Zakiya is still tight with Davon. So this sounds like it's very complicated.
Yeah, I think Zakiya is probably the one that is least receptive to it, simply because she's very tight with Davon. But I think like that is like a pretty strongly working relationship. Like, I think all 4 of them to varying degrees would entertain that final 4. Certainly Corey and Nicole of late have been talking about wanting to work long term with Paulie and Zakiya. And yeah, I think Corey and Paulie in the wake of Frank blowing up feel like they need to, like, it's ride or die, bro. It's down to just us 2 bros. Like, it's not, we got to stick it out to the end a little bit, especially Corey. I think Paulie has a few more levels to his game. But yeah, it's definitely a strong working relationship, and if the showmances get stronger over the course of time, as we have often seen in the Big Brother house, then that could become like a serious I don't know, double data line. I don't know what you want to call it. I feel stupid saying it.
Yeah, we'll go with it. A serious double date alliance. I like it. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of these groups within this former 8-pack group are really just they're circles drawn like inside of each other and all around. There's a bunch of different people in different things. Like Paulie and Corey still have this thing left over from when Frank was with them as a trio. They've kind of pulled in James as a third, but then James is also with like Paulie and Zakiya, and also with like Nicole and Corey. And obviously Zakiya is with Devon, and Devon's still with the girls, and Michelle is with Devon, and it's all over the place. And I don't think anybody is like super loyal to anybody in particular, except for the two kind of showmance pairs.
Are the Spy Girls still loyal to each other after this week with Bridget winning HOH, Taryn?
They are somewhat. They, like I said, they haven't ratted each other out to anyone at the moment, and they do sometimes talk about like, oh, this third one, they're not as with us as we are together, but they are definitely tight, and certainly more tight than a lot of the other side of the houses. And you'd think, because Natalie in particular is getting very close with James, and she has still not told him about the Spy Girls. Even recently, she was lying to him about their relationship, saying we're just friends, nothing game is happening with those guys. So they're probably one of the tighter alliances in the house at the moment.
And I think it's interesting that the three of them, they're not throwing each other under the bus at all, but each of them has kind of found themselves like in a position where they've each got one guy who's like throwing them lifelines of information, right? So Bridget has Frank and Natalie has James, but also we've seen Bronte get some key information from Paul. Yep. That Paulie divulged to him about how the fix is in against Frank, and that's how Bronte was able to tell Bridget like maybe you don't want to put all your eggs in the Frank basket. So Paul is actually his weak puppy routine has paid off. Now people are actually giving him information instead of just treating him like a pawn who can just be like on a need-to-know basis, and he's able to now use that information to leverage a relationship with Bronte that makes her probably trust him more if she's not going to be irrational, which we can't take as a certainty either.
Yeah, Paulie is grooming Paul in a very similar way to like how Frank wanted to groom Bridget. The difference, obviously, is that Paulie is doing it much more secretly. However, Paul is a much more dangerous player to be doing this with. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm excited for Paul. That's really good news, because I was really nervous about him going into this week, because with Bridget winning and her having the girl power mindset behind her in that Spy Girl alliance. So exciting things to come there. Taryn, you were not on Rob Has a Podcast last night. You were scheduled to be, but you were still traveling. And Alex did a great job filling in. He had a little bit of his Jerry Kidwell voice, but he's slowly getting back to normal. But something that I think a lot of people wanted to hear you comment on, Taryn, were these comments that Frank made about your Lord and Savior, your Messiah, Dan Giesling. What are your thoughts on Frank saying that Dan's funeral in Big Brother 14 was not that great?
Well, he didn't say it wasn't that great. He said it didn't work. It didn't save Dan, right? Like, honestly, like people are reaching out to me to be like, hey, Taryn, like you should go and rant about this. I'm elated. This is great. Like, Frank has been proving me right this entire season, and this just furthers it. Like, everything that I've said about him and Big Brother 14 is like completely being, validated by everything that he says. He's like so ridiculously bitter 4 years later about what happened with Dan. And Dan is like, being like a cool dude on Twitter, like rooting for Frank, and Frank is like busy bashing him on the feeds, and it's just like super. And like, it wasn't even just Dan. He hates Danielle. He hates Brittany, because Brittany wasn't bitter enough toward Dan, so Brittany is also just as bad as Dan. So
what?
Yeah. He's mad at Brittany. I don't want to say the words that he said, but like he's mad at Brittany for not because she sucks up to Dan because she wasn't mad enough at him for betraying her.
Yeah. I mean, Alex, I don't know if you saw. Well, I'm sure you did. I saw on Twitter the other day that Frank also was talking, and he was like, "Yeah, they don't really let you wear all white wife beaters in the house. There was this one dumbass who dyed all of his pink," and I was like, "Oh my God, he's talking about Shane." So funny. Has there been anybody else, Alex, that he's talked crap about from BB14?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, he said stuff about a lot of the cast to a degree.
He talked about a lot. He said,
Ian,
they all badmouthed me because they're all bad people.
What? Wait,
Yeah.
wait, Alex, you said he badmouthed Ian? Ian, like, was
I don't remember
Frank.
how he came up, but he came up in some context where it was like Ian was too scared to like go against it, or like he said something. He's minimized Ian's game in varying conversations. He's done that to agree with everyone. I mean, when in Frank's narrative, he was the hero of BB14, and everyone else was just bitter that they weren't as good as him. I really believe that at this point.
Yeah, and he talked about like, oh, Dan can only convince people who are weak-minded and like weak-willed. I never trusted Dan. I always knew what he was up to, which is exactly why Dan was able to blindside him the week he went out, the week that he should have gone out when the coaches came in, when he decided not to backdoor him. The week of the funeral when he believed him, when he said he was going to work with him. Yeah, he never believed Dan, and I'm so glad that we're getting the real history of Big Brother 14 from Frank.
It's so funny to me that on day one, Paul was so clueless at this game, and here we are day 27, 28, and I'd say he's leaps and bounds better than Frank, who has had like a season and a half to work on this stuff. It's pretty amazing to watch.
And here's one of the best parts, right? So he's going on this rant about Dan to Michelle and Nicole, and neither of them buy it at all. They're just like, well, we still think that Dan's amazing, and we don't care what you have to say. We still want to like have coffee with Dan. Like, he's the best. And he's just like, he's so frustrated. He's like, no, I see straight through him. Like he's the worst. And then he goes to Paulie later, and he's like, yeah. We got to get Michelle out. She runs her mouth and she has bad opinions. We were talking about Big Brother 14 and she just has bad opinions.
Yeah, it's amazing how nothing like that actually has to do with Big Brother 18 or the game being played has led to Frank like really wanting to target Michelle simply because like she won't eat up his nonsense. Like that's really it.
My favorite part was when Alex was talking on the podcast last night with Rob, and he said that Frank also said he doesn't like Dan because Dan isn't quote unquote humble enough.
Yes, that's he's like oh yeah, he gets people to kiss his ass. Dan is so far from humble. Mist isn't even a thing. Like that's not a thing.
Dude, Frank, you are soaking in it, buddy. I hate to break it to you.
Nobody sucks their own D as well as Dan Giesling can.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my. Frank, not a good.
And it really did. Like it made him so mad at Michelle. Michelle was like, "Well, I mean, I your season was my favorite season, and it's like all you guys that make. He's like, I don't care. Like it's just like so bad. Like he's letting his feelings about Dan ruin this game. That's amazing. I was like, come on."
Yeah,
wow.
And I don't even understand, like, why wasn't Brittany more angry? Like she's just kissing Dan's ass too much. She's just as stupid as Danielle and Dan are. Oh my god.
Oh man,
everyone's stupid but me, Jordan.
Yes, exactly. Classic Alex. Everyone's stupid but me. Homer Simpson, so good. The chat room is coming up with all these hashtags here, which is really funny. So if you want to check the chat room out on RHAPpy.com, just go to the show page, scroll down below the video, and you can join the chat room there. Let's talk about we were talking about Michelle there. Something from last night that I managed to catch, which I found to be super entertaining. I love this so much, and not just because I'm fond of Michelle. I think that maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think a lot of people probably found this very entertaining. There was a rap battle that was going on in the house. Alex, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about that?
Well, it's funny. You say entertaining. I say shades of Steve Moses. But, to each his own. The two aren't necessarily mutually exclusive, right? But, so, the girls were preparing, like, a synchronized routine. You've got, like, all these girls in the bathroom. I think Devon was kind of overseeing it. You've got Zakiya, who's teaching steps. Natalie knows some dance moves. And they're kind of, like, leading Bronte and Nicole through some stuff. And Michelle just kind of, like, drunk Michelle at this point. She's, like, got a backwards hat on and stuff, and she just like kind of like quietly moseys off to the little like the Nairobi Safari room there, and it was a little great back and forth on the feeds of like this synchronized group dance where everyone's involved, and like Michelle just like doing her own thing in the mirror, like I don't know what it was, but if we don't get that on the episode complete with like some Steve kind of music, then someone messed up, Jordan.
Well, then also there was she went by her alter ego, similar to, and I think this is probably the most memorable one since Alex in Big Brother 16 when Joey went around the house and changed her name. She was going by Big Mish Taryn, and I thought she had some pretty good lines against Paul. Although Paul, I will give Paul some credit. Paul, decent at the rap battles, Taryn.
Well, I mean, we have some low standards, right? Like they're competing against like Chicken George, and
I thought it was pretty good. Like I can't remember any of them now, but there's some. You can find the clips on Twitter. I'm sure if you go back on the flashback to last night, you'll see it. But I got to think this will be on the episode, right, Taryn?
There's no Mike Bloom here.
No, definitely no MC Blue Mizzle or whatever Mike's or mix or what did Tony Vlog shows call him? A Master Mike is what he was calling him, and I just always think of Mix Master Mike with Mike Bloom.
Yeah, I do think they'll probably be on the. This is the stuff they kind of like to show on the show, especially when they get like super hammered like they were last night. Michelle in particular was like just really out of it.
And she had the sunglasses on and the backwards hat, and then I saw there was one where she like, and I didn't actually see this part, but she rhymed like something with fatty and then used Glenn in it, and I was like, oh no, Michelle, that's so terrible.
Well, the joke's on them, Jordan, because when they see what Glenn looks like after all this time as sequester with nothing to do, and he comes in like Dwayne Johnson's stunt double, they're all gonna pay.
So there we go. Rob's sister. Sorry, go ahead.
My favorite part was afterwards when they were like making sure that they didn't offend each other. They were like, just we didn't mean it. Like we were just having fun.
Well, yeah, Michelle was like, "You're on the block and you're gonna get a sock." Like I was like, "What? How is that offensive? Like
Mic
Paul's
drop.
not gonna care." Right? It's like, yeah, drop the mic, exactly. But the thing I wanted to talk about, Alex, was that I wanted to ask you. Michelle was really upset after one of her lines because James was making fun of her. Do you want to explain what that line was that she used?
Oh, I can't remember.
Okay, Taryn, did you see this?
I'm still not where I need to be in terms of my mental capacity.
It's okay. Alex he's playing hurt. That's okay. Taryn, did you see this?
No, I don't have the line now.
Okay, so wow, look at this. For the first time ever, I'm bringing the news on this show. So Michelle used the line, apparently. She said, "Ian Terry, I want to marry." Like, that's what she said, like, with her rap thing. And then James was like, "Ian, ha, 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 ha," and was laughing so hard at Michelle. And she got really upset and started crying. So I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know what happened after that. I don't know what the aftermath was because I went to sleep. But I did see that Ian Terry at Tulane Terry on Twitter just tweeted James in all caps hashtag BB18 last night. So I found that to be pretty amusing.
Well, God forbid. I mean, that a girl should finally reciprocate some interest in James, and now he's such hot stuff that he can make fun of Ian as a prospect, right? Come on, James.
Right? Get out of here, James. Come on.
You should be better than this. You know how it is to have like unrequited feelings for someone in the Big Brother house, right? So
we should though talk about James and Natalie, right? Like
let's talk about James and Natalie, Taryn. What's I mean, we saw on the show last night they really kind of started to show, and I was flabbergasted that I mean, I know you guys were saying it, that Natalie was like, yeah, I kind of think James is cute, whatever. But, when you were saying that, I was just thinking, nah, that's just, Natalie can't actually really like James. But we saw the DRs last night, and Natalie said she wants to date James. And I just can't believe it, Taryn.
Yeah, and they are. I think they want to push this. This is the new it couple for Big Brother. I think they really they're gonna go full in on this. And I talked about preseason. I thought that potentially James is gonna have sort of a down season from last time. I think he's on the rise, and it's largely gonna be because of this. I think that if he actually has a lot of time with Natalie in the house, and they become like this cute couple, Big Brother's going to really push it, and it's going to be a thing. It's going to be very popular. They're going to be really adorable, and I mean, sorry for people that aren't James fans, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this if neither of them go home anytime soon.
Yay.
Wait, what voice was that, Alex? Was that Victor's eviction speech voice that we couldn't figure out what it was?
No, that was the voice of the one fan of Battle of the Block, who is also, as it happens, the one fan of James Showman's montages.
Hey, James is at the top of the Joker's charts right now.
You know, what? Well, it's because he's so caught up with Natalie that he doesn't have time to say anything offensive, Taryn.
Rob predicted that Devon would be at the top, but it's James and Natalie are the top two right now, and Devon is third. So
I'm sorry, but like, who's voting on Jokers? Like, really? Like, come on. I mean, maybe I'm just biased because when I was on Big Brother, I was consistently at 14 the entire time throughout the season. But still, like, I don't get it. I really don't. It's an I need to see the algorithm in terms of how that works. Okay, so James is on the rise. Let's talk about something. I mean, before we get into Alex, the segment that you created for this evening. Is there anything else new and noteworthy that you guys want to touch upon before we move forward in the show? Anything? No? We good? Looks like we're good.
I feel like we've done a pretty good job covering the main points, at least for what's going on right now. Okay. Obviously, the possibility of a flip still looms because Devon is starting to realize more and more, like, maybe she wants Tiffany. Why should I get rid of Tiffany? Does Devon have the pull to make it happen is a big question. And also, does anyone else want to risk their own social capital to try to save her? Like, even Michelle is not filling Tiffany in, and that Michelle used to be her closest person. So unless somebody gives her more information than she has right now to work with, it's going to be tough to see something change.
Yeah, and these new players, they're sitting kind of pretty right now. If the vote doesn't flip, and if the vote doesn't flip, then going into next week, there are so many targets. And once one person shoots off, then it's going to be chaos. Like, Frank is a huge target. Devon is a pretty big target right now. Corey is a pretty big target. Even people have even started talking about Paulie as, you know, Paulie's in a really great position now. Maybe we need to take a shot at him. So there are a lot of people who are itching for this to pull the trigger on somebody, and there's going to be a lot of back and forth, and if those new players can stick together through that, then the twist ends, then they're in a very solid position to move forward.
And I think the interesting thing, the person who best realizes it all is Paul, because he had a great conversation with Bronte where he basically said, look, lay low, but just keep your eyes open, don't be dumb, and we're good for 4 weeks or something. Like, if we make it through this week without any changes, like, I think they're going to keep us for a while. And he's absolutely right. He sees something that, like, isn't necessarily supposed to be shown to him, but he's still picking up on it anyway. Very, very good, I think.
So looking like then Tiffany is going to be going home, I guess, unless something gets flipped here at the 11th hour. Speaking of Tiffany, some breaking news are happening now. I just got a text from Rob Sesternino, and we've got a special announcement to make tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Rob will be doing a special live interview with Vanessa Russo to talk about Tiffany's game and everything there. So don't forget to check that out on RHAPpy.com. I know I'm looking forward to checking that out, and I'm glad that we're going to get to see and hear from Vanessa while Tiffany is still in the house. So don't forget to check that out if you are interested in some additional BB18 coverage. Okay, let's jump onto this new segment that Alex invented in the pre-show, and it was very, very aptly named, Alex. I don't know if we've got a very specific name for it yet. Alex just suggested the BB Stock Watch, and basically it is how it sounds. We're just going to talk about whose stock is rising and whose stock is falling right now in the house, who you buying, who you selling. We've got Taryn and Alex here, no Brent, so I feel like this is a good way to fill in some extra time without the usual Brent's rant segment that we have in each show. So let's start with the veterans, because we talked about James. Taryn, you said that James is on the rise in terms of the vets. Whose stock is falling right now, other than Frank? Nicole, or if you got to buy Nicole's stock or Devon's stock, I imagine you're going on with Nicole's stock, right? But is she? You really think that James is at a higher point than she is right now?
For the fans, I think that James is certainly, like, as far as like the casual fans, he's always been high on them, but I think he's on the rise, especially with this Natalie thing. Game wise, Yeah, that too. He is because he is so solid, so straightforward. He is not on anybody's radar right now. He is in with almost every single in-group for this sort of splintered 8-pack. He's not on the super inside, but he doesn't need to be. Nobody needs to be in the core of any alliance right now. It's still way too early to need that. So I think James is going to be around for a while. Some people have talked about targeting Natalie because of her connection with James, but that's still not James. Even if Natalie goes, he's still in a great spot. So yeah, I think James is definitely on the rise here. As far as Dave versus Nicole, I think Nicole has fallen a little bit. I think she's getting a little too ahead of herself. However, she's still in a great position. Nobody's targeting her at the moment. Some people are targeting Corey in order to get at her, but again, not her first, and that's why she's in a good position. Devon, on the other side of things, is being targeted herself by a few different people, including people like Frank and now Nicole a little bit. So Devon is, I think, on the steady decline that we've been noticing. Nothing too crazy has changed. She's just continuing along that decline.
And I think this speaks a bit to, the idea of like the value of zigging when the house sags a little bit. Like in a season like BB16 where so few people are thinking about the game and thinking about numbers and thinking about strategy, someone like Derek who really is all over that stuff can, more easily dominate, I think. In this kind of a season, the people who are not going to get looked at, who are not getting targeted, are the people who are just staying out of it entirely because so many people are so involved with the machinations that, it's really the best thing you could do in the Big Brother house is be adaptable, see where the group is going, and put yourself in the position that makes you non-threatening to the majority of the group. By being a contrast to everyone else's manipulating and scheming and plotting, James stands out as a trustworthy fella. You know what I mean?
So going into next week, then, let's talk about the new players in the house. Outside of Tiffany, Alex, whose stock would you, if you could buy anybody's stock, who are you buying going into this next week of play?
Honestly, Paul. I know I've been like just singing his praises tonight a bit, but I'm really impressed by him because this was a guy I was really giving a lot of crap for in week 1. I mean, saying stuff like, you don't need to watch this show. Like, people who watch this show probably just do themselves more harm than good, and like being so utterly out of the loop with the Jose thing, to last week where he really began to figure it out on his own. That's the thing. Like, no one has really helped him. Paulie's thrown him a little information here and there, but no one's really telling him how to play this game that's best for Paul. People are trying to tell him how to play this game that's best for them. And Paul is kind of reading through the lines anyway. He's kind of figuring this out on his own in a way that I really haven't seen many people do on feeds, and at a speed that I'm really not used to seeing people do. So I think, I'm pretty impressed. I think, this could be the kind of arc of someone who goes from, clueless to actually like, a real danger if people, ignore him for too long. Let's not forget this guy won veto when he felt like he was in danger. He's clearly capable of winning competitions, and I think that's something that gets lost here too, is that, with all the worry of Frank, guys like James, guys like Paul, other people who have proven to be savvy at competitions are that target that would normally exist for them is almost invisible because of Frank's presence.
Taryn, do you think we can pencil Paul into jury now then, since because from my perspective, I feel like nobody's going to be going after him. I'm totally buying what Alex is selling there.
I think he's very likely to make it to jury. He's not in a position where he could protect himself from all angles. There are lots of scenarios where he could just kind of get clipped because of just a bad draw. But he's statistically, I would say he's more likely to make it to jury than a lot of other people that are trying to protect all their bases but are absolutely not. So yeah, I think Paul is definitely someone to look out for. I shudder to think what he could have been had he known the game coming into this, right? Like, because he is learning so quickly and he does have very good instincts. So yeah, I'm hoping that we see a lot more from him in the future.
Taryn, who are you selling the most out of the newbies? Just looking at them as a whole going into the next week, who are you really nervous about?
I am nervous about Corey a lot. He is starting to get on a lot of people's radars, and for his archetype, this is not a good time for that to happen. He's trying to do the best he can, but his connection to Nicole is really putting a target on his back, and that's not good because he's not even that loyal to Nicole. I think he's more loyal to Paulie, which again puts him in a bad position because he's going to be the first person they target for. If anyone wants to go after Paulie, they're going to go after Corey first, probably. And if everyone wants to target Nicole, they're going to go after Corey first. So he's really he stands tall as a big target. So I'm worried about Corey, and obviously I'm worried about Bridget. She thinks that she's doing good here. She thinks that she's playing to Frank and using him, but everybody sees that she's doing it, and everybody sees what Frank is doing. So nobody's really buying that she's useless. They're just like, if we can't get out Frank, maybe we get out Bridget. And if we do get out Frank, maybe we get Bridget out right after anyway, because, we don't want her here.
And even from a pure physical perspective, I mean, Bridget, won this POV, won HOH. Now people think of her as a competition threat, which someone like that should never be on the radar as a competition threat. Capped off with the fact that celebrating with Frank afterwards, she really messed up her ankle and is on crutches now. So if she were to be put in a spot, I don't know that she can right now win a competition to save herself. So
wait, so that's how she injured her ankle, was celebrating? Oh,
yeah.
My gosh.
So it was Frank celebrating.
Right, yeah. I think Frank jumped on it or something. And
which is perfect given the Mike Boogie connection, right?
Right, exactly, right? See, that's something that I anticipated happening to, exactly, to Boogie, but not to Bridget. That I don't understand that. I just am picturing any football fans out there. One of the Grammatica brothers, he was a kicker in the NFL. He was celebrating so hard. Alex, I think, remembers.
Automatica Grammatica, of course.
Yeah, he was jumping up and down, and I think he tore his ACL. He was after he made a field goal. So I'm just envisioning that.
And I'm not remembering exactly who it was. I want to say Yunel Escobar, but I don't think that was right. There's a player for the Angels. Maybe Kendry Morales. He had a home run, and as he came in, he walked the home run real slow. But as he came into home plate, whereas all his teammates were there celebrating, it was a walk-off home run. So he won the game. He jumps up and down with them on home plate, injures himself, and is out for 2 years because of that fluke injury.
Wait, Kendry Morales. I didn't. Okay, never mind. We can't go down this rabbit hole. That's interesting facts, tidbits from Alex Kidwell there. I did not realize that's how long Kendry Morales was injured.
He had a long time for a little celebration that went horribly, horribly wrong.
Oh man. Okay. So interesting. So Bridget hurts her ankle that way. How bad is this injury, Alex? Is she on crutches or anything, or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is. Okay, so she's probably out of commission then for the next little while.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a two-part system. She's on crutches a lot of the time, and she's on Frank's back like Yoda a lot of the time as well. To go up the stairs to HOH, it really is it's a very Luke Skywalker picture that they're painting.
Please, any listeners who are good with the Photoshop, please send us Bridget on Frank's back with Yoda as her head.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you in advance. That would be awesome if you could make that for us. We will be eternally grateful. Okay, so in terms of other stock, I mean, Bridget, that was somebody who I wanted to ask you guys about in terms of where she's at post HOH reign, but it looks like people have kind of caught on to what she's doing there. Taryn, tell me about Bronte. What's Bronte looking like now? She just got put on the block again. She looked very distraught after the episode last night, but looks like she's going to be safe once again.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Paul learning the game, but Bronte is another person who's really starting to learn the game as she goes. Her first week was god-awful, and I mentioned at the start of the second week, in her diary room, she said, I'm on the block, I need to keep my mouth shut, I need to start playing a little smarter, and I was like, well, this is what you should have been doing the whole time, but she's stuck with this. Hopefully it's not just a symptom of being on the block, and as soon as she's not on the block, she reverts back, but it does seem like this is starting to work. She's quieting down, she's not being too aggressive, she's really starting to blend into the background. People are talking about her as though she's not a non-entity anymore. They were talking about her like she was the biggest threat in the house a couple weeks ago. So she is definitely on the rise, and now that Bridget has this connection with Frank and Natalie has this connection with James, she's one of the least talked about members of the Spy Girls. She's no longer the biggest threat. People talk about Natalie and her connection with James as getting her out. People talk about Bridget to get her out because of Frank, but nobody's talking about Bronte because they don't see a connection with Bronte. She does have this connection with Paul. Hopefully that doesn't get too public because that could start to put a target on her back. In fact, it could put a target on both of their backs if it gets too obvious. But in the meantime, right now, she's looking pretty good as long as this vote doesn't flip on her this week.
Yeah, it's interesting because with both Paul and Bronte, I think both going up as a pawn and both seeing that out and seeing that they didn't go and that stuff went the way they hoped and thought it would go is has made them a bit more confident in the game and in their ability to kind of play. I think it's almost like like having gotten your feet wet, and now they're a bit of like veterans in this game, where like the actual veterans who still haven't been nominated are still so terrified of the possibility of even going up that it's causing them to play more risk averse than someone like Paul or Bronte, who are already kind of feeling like they're playing with house money a little bit because they felt like their game was blown up post Jose thing. The flip side of that coin is someone like Tiffany, who was up as a pawn last week and is up as a real target this week, but is remembering the feeling of being a pawn, and so as a result is probably feeling more safe than she should. So it's tricky.
Let's talk about Michelle. I'm curious as to where she lies in all of this. Are we buying or selling Michelle stock moving forward, Alex?
I'm buying Michelle stock, assuming like Frank doesn't win HOH or something crazy. I think she's in a good position. Again, I think she's done well in distancing herself, pretty well, I should say, in distancing herself from Tiffany and really like, attaching herself to Nicole. I think that's, that move needed to be made at the right time, and she did it subtly enough that it hasn't like made waves. It's very underrated how someone can kind of like, do that in the house, just kind of like shift their alliances subtly. You know what I mean? But at the same time, she has shown like cracks in terms of like social ability, where you wonder if the screws got put on her, if we got further down the road and it gets tougher. I mean, like, she almost slipped up with Tiffany the other night. She said something about like next week we'd put up Bronte and someone, and Tiffany was like, wait, Bronte won't be here though, right? And she's like, oh yeah, right. And like it was the night she was drunk, so maybe we give her a little bit of an excuse, but jury's still out. Could she flame out spectacularly still? Yeah, but I have high hopes.
Yeah, I think I might be selling Michelle, at least based on last week. I thought she was in a pretty good, solid position last week, and it has gone downhill. I mean, praise her for defending Dan's honor, right? But it has put a target on her back, and she has been. Her social ability isn't quite there, right? She seems like a little bit. I mean, she kind of fits the stereotype of like that shut-in, right? Like, she doesn't socialize with people, with everybody. She has her circle of people, and those are the people she talks to. But she's not making a lot of bonds with other people. I will say she has sort of mended the fences with Bridget, at least based on last night and all the drunkenness that went on. So she made some progress on that front, but she is starting to come up as a potential target, and I could definitely see her kind of getting clipped here and there in the chaos that is soon to come, just because she doesn't really fit in with anyone. She's not like an essential part of anyone's game, and she's very expendable in that way. So I could see her kind of getting clipped off in that way.
That's true, yeah, and it's really good that she does, make the effort to mend fences with Bridget and stuff, but it is unfortunately kind of undermined by the fact that, like, Frank is telling everyone he told Michelle to make terms with Bridget, and Frank is telling Bridget that he's sending Michelle to her. So, like, Frank taking credit for the situation really, no matter how she plays it, it's going to not have the impact it could have because Frank is there.
I want to talk about Paulie, too. Paulie's a guy who I think has a lot of skill for this game. He's somebody who I've been really impressed with so far, just from the little bit that I've seen in feeds and from what I've seen on the episodes. Taryn, you buying or selling Paulie moving forward just because there are a lot of targets and names being thrown around there for next week?
I am still going to buy on Paulie. I think that he's probably one of the most capable players in the house right now. He talks a lot about advice that Derek gave him, and for good reason. It's good advice. He's doing really well. He knows what he needs to do, and he does it well. The problem is that he's a little bit visible when he does it. It's sort of like how Frank was, technically making like all the right kind of setups before he lost control, but it was just way, way, way too obvious. Paulie is like I said with when Frank did that with Bridget, Paulie is kind of doing that with Paul. It's much more under the radar, and he's much smarter about it. So he's doing it correctly, but again, it's a little bit too obvious. People are seeing through it just more than he should be visible, I guess, is the right way to say it. Yeah.
And Taryn is getting a little bit tongue-tied here because if you're watching this live on Google Hangout on YouTube, you go to Reality TV RHAPpy on YouTube if you want to check this out. Taryn's cat just ran behind him on his couch, and Taryn was like trying to see what his cat was doing while he was like talking, and he's like looking in his camera to like watch his cat. It's very funny.
He got too big for the gate. He can get right over it now. So I'm gonna have to figure out a solution.
Exactly.
He's hosting this week's comp, I think.
Yeah.
I'd be down with that. I think that would be kind of fun having a cat, or maybe your cat can be Otev this year, Taryn.
Still better than Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and Paulie, I'm still high on Paulie despite the fact that I think he went very, very up this week and then went a little bit down. So he's a little bit up and down, but I'm still confident in his ability moving forward.
Okay, Alex. Anybody else you want to touch upon in the stock watch, or are you ready to move forward to the questions?
No. I feel like I can't think. Is there anyone in particular who we really haven't touched on too much? I think we've done a decent job up to this point of like touching in brief terms on everyone, right?
Maybe Zakiya, briefly.
Okay. Yeah. So Zakiya, I guess I'm going to say down only relative to where she was last week, simply because, the people she's closest to are in worse positions than they were last week. I don't think it's necessarily Zakiya, other than I worry that she might be a little more into Paulie than I thought she was. I thought she was really stringing him along, and now I'm worried that she's catching feelings, and that's always a bad thing for someone who wants to be a cutthroat gamer in the house, and really, it tends to take people's eyes off the prize. So I don't want to see that from Zakiya. I hope she can... I like the Zakiya. I like the idea of a Zakiya that's playing Paulie, not an idea of a Sleepless in Seattle type of situation. No Meg Ryans in the Big Brother house, Jordan. No Meg Ryans.
No. We had Meg last season, but no, that's.
Even though Bridget is basically a Meg Ryan clone.
Kind of, right? Yeah, that's actually really, really nice observation there. Quickly, Taryn, Natalie, do we think we're down on her because of her connection to James, and people are looking at her as more of a target now?
Not too down on her. There's not a whole lot she can do about that. She should. I think she's playing it as well as she can, given the situation. Obviously, Bronte, I think, is in a better spot than her at the moment, but I think it's still a powerful position to be in, to be connected to James, as long as she can avoid getting hit just from a stray shot. And then another person that we haven't talked too much about is Tiffany, because we're kind of assuming that she's going home. But I think Tiffany has really stepped up her game. A large part of why people were targeting her was because she was so out there. She was so, she kept crying at the drop of a dime. But she's really calmed down, and she's kind of doing like the Austin thing or the Caleb thing, where she doesn't realize she's the target, but she's being like super loyal to the point where people are like, why are we doing this? Why are we taking her out? And that's why she even has a chance this week. So props to her. Yeah. Even though she's still unaware that she's going home, which is not a good sign.
All right, well, that leads into the question segment of the show. So if you want to get your questions in, still a little bit of time. You can go to you can comment on the YouTube video, or you can tweet me again. I'm at Jordan Parhar. Use hashtag RHAPpy. We're going to get into those right now. First one is from Nina Spong, all the way from Sweden, at Tenor84. Nina says, and it comes from what we were just talking about with Tiffany. She says, what would you suggest for Tiffany to do if you could give her any advice? Is there anything? Alex, anything Tiffany can do beyond what she's already been doing, which is being loyal?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on a couple of options last night, which is why I'm extra excited to hear what Taryn's opinion is on this, because I think there are a couple different roads to take, but once you take one, you've kind of burned the other ones. You know what I mean? So to me, it's a very interesting situation in that we can, speculate and kind of Monday morning quarterback after the decision is made about, like, assuming she does something at all, which is no guarantee because she doesn't know she needs to right now. Which thing should she do to save herself? Some people speculated, obviously, blowing up the roadkill thing to Bridget. We've seen now that probably wouldn't have done much, considering how easily Frank was able to get her to thank him for doing it. The other option that a lot of people talk about is go rally the girls and really try to turn it against Frank. I've talked about that. I think the only issue with that is that you have to also use it as a way to turn against somebody else who's on the block. So maybe if you can, incentivize all the girls to take out Paul and really lock down all the girls, then maybe that's the thing. I think the problem there is that I don't know if you're going to get all the girls on board with it. I think some of them are less worried about Paul than they are worried about the wrath of Frank should they try to do something, and that's the danger there. The other option, which I pitched, and I think is probably unorthodox, but probably to me the one that represents the best chance of success just based on his control this week, is to win Frank back. You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's going to be hard. Frank's word doesn't have a lot of pull in the house right now, but if she were to somehow win him to her side, Frank is putting in a lot of work and spending all his social capital right now because he just feels confident just throwing out what he feels. If you can get him to feel like you need to stay, that could quickly become like a powerful, like, reoccurring narrative in the house. I don't think any option is particularly high percentage. I just think that's more of like the shoot for the moon option that to me is probably the route I would try to go. Just sell him on the idea that, like, look, man, the fix really is in. If you take me out here and they take you out, how did this help us at all? We're just playing James and Davon and Nicole's games for them.
Taryn, I'm also curious to hear what you have to say about this. So if you could give any advice to Tiffany, what would that be?
Well, I do kind of like the go to Frank idea, right? The problem with that one at this point is that I think it's too late. Frank's influence is basically gone at this point. She could have gone to him and I mean, very similar to the funeral, right? Where and
exactly.
said,
that's what I was going to say.
Listen, I'm not the only one against you. It's everyone. You need to work with me if you want any chance. I mean, Frank said the funeral didn't work, right? So clearly he would have been open to the idea. All it was just him making a decision, and then he could have maybe gotten Bridget to take her off the block and blindside somebody else. But she didn't
Shades
do that.
of Gen City.
She's not Dan Giesling, so that wasn't in the cards for her. And so with that off the table, I think she's probably doing most of what she can do. She's what she's doing with Davon is fantastic. She's going to Davon saying, "You're the only one I can trust. Like, I'm really feeling close to you." And Davon is somebody who could potentially flip this vote around, but her power is sapping away. What she definitely needs to do right now is do what she's doing with Davon with somebody like Nicole as well. Get Nicole on board, and if you have Nicole and Davon on board, I think you can get the votes to get Bronte out instead. Just convince Nicole that you're a loyal soldier without being too obvious. Unfortunately, the best way to do this is to lay the groundwork all week, and she hasn't really been doing that. She has about a day or so left, so if she can, in that time, just spend a lot of time with Nicole and get her on board, that would work. Unfortunately, she doesn't know that she has to do this. Day has kind of hinted, like, hey, maybe you're in a little more trouble than you think. And so, I mean, that's why I'm giving her like a 10-15% chance, is if you go to Nicole, who has already talked about potentially doing this, convince her that you're a loyal soldier, tell her, Derek did this, you keep the number, you don't keep the person that you're not sure of, and Nicole gets on board, she gets Corey on board, and then Day is on board, Michelle is on board, then you're starting to get a movement, and then you can potentially get Bronte out.
Yeah, I'd say Nicole is the person with the most control on, like, the vote. If it were to swing, she could really make it happen if she really wanted it to. But yeah, we've talked about it a little bit. I think it's unfortunate, though, that this player happens to be one that is so afraid of getting on the radar of someone who's very capable of winning competitions. Like, I think the element of Frank being someone who's so good at this stuff really makes her uber terrified of the idea of taking the shot and missing. So I feel like Nicole is going to be very scared to make any kind of move unless it really seems like everyone else is on board as well.
Yeah, and her biggest obstacle right now is Paulie, who is very dead set on getting Tiffany out for whatever reason. Last week, when he was very close to Tiffany, and over the course of the week, Tiffany's behavior just really put him off, and now he's just convinced that Tiffany is, just like Vanessa, going to be like the kind of person that stands in his way. He sort of feels like he's setting himself up pretty nicely, and he thinks that Tiffany is the person that's going to figure him out eventually. And I think this is Paulie's biggest mistake right now. I think that he's really misreading the situation with Tiffany, and I think it's a big mistake for all of these vets and their allies to take Tiffany out over Bronte. I think they're giving a lot of power to the new players, and I think they're getting overconfident because of this twist. Because if they have a majority with this twist, they can do whatever they want, basically. But what they're not thinking of is that if this twist ends with the battle back, then they're in a lot of hot water if they haven't taken out the majority of those new players. All of a sudden, 1, 2, even 3 HOHs go to the new players, and they're decimated. So they need to be very careful about who they send out this week, and they're not really thinking too hard about it.
All right, let's take another question. This one is from friend of the podcast, Antonio Mazzaro, at AC Mazzaro on Twitter. Antonio says, regarding the battle back, should the ultimate winner get immunity the next week, HOH the next week, or just come back in? I'm picturing a boring scenario where Frank wins the battle back and just goes right back out. So yeah, interesting to the topic of conversation here. Just looking historically, if we look at people who have returned back into the house in terms of the most recent seasons, last season Johnny Mac came back at Final 8. He finished in 4th, so he didn't get evicted right away. He also was evicted and came back the same night. Nicole came back in week 10 of Big Brother 16. She was evicted, she came back in week 9, was evicted in week 10. Judd came back in week 9 in Big Brother 15, made it all the way to Final 4, so similar to Johnny Mac. And then in Big Brother 13, Brendan came back in week 6 and was right back out the door in week 6. So, Taryn, what do you think? If you had the choice, would you just let the person come back and have them just fight it out and let them play as an equal player, or would you give them some sort of advantage to at least give them a chance to survive more than 1 week?
I mean, there's not really precedence for this, as you just explained, and I don't like the idea that somebody comes back and then is safe for a week. They already got enough, gifts from production, right? Like, they were already voted out and they came back. They don't need to be safe for a week. They should have to, reacclimate themselves on the fly. That's like part of what it is. And then also another thing about it is that with this battle back, I think if they're safe for a week, then they are they're in jury. I think either they're in jury or there's only one more week till. Like, I don't think that they should have an automatic ticket to jury. I think it's a little too much. And I like the weeks when people come back into the game and then go straight back out. I mean, we all hate what happened to Kaser, but it's compelling television, no? Like, I think it's worth it to allow that to happen. I don't think it's necessarily the most boring thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm with
quickly here. Sorry, Alex. Quickly here. Quick correction from the chat room. Judd finished in 5th on Big Brother 15, is what people are saying, not 4th. So my mistake. I guess McRae would have been 4th. Oh, right. So my bad on that one there. Go ahead, Alex. You said you agree with Taryn.
Yeah, for the most part, one thing I just would like to add is I think, if we're going to do a returnee, you talked about, like, if we're going to do the returnee, what's the best format? And I think for me, I like the BB15, BB17, make it like an addendum to the HOH. You know what I mean? Like, so they're all competing, but if someone is really willing to just, stay on the wall all night or do whatever, it's like they have the opportunity after they've beaten all the other people they can return against to also hold out against the entirety of the house and win HOH. And maybe, like, the house should get to start a little later than everyone else or something. But, like, I do kind of like the idea that, like, if someone really decided to just go all out for it, they could technically Joe Anglim it that first week. And then, all they are is a bigger target for the next week in my eyes. So they still have to play it out from there.
Yeah, I'm hoping in terms of entertainment, I'm with Taryn, actually. I do kind of like unless it's somebody who, like, I love, like, I'm really bummed about, like, when I was a kid watching Kaser come back and then get voted out right away, I was just so devastated. But I think it's good. I think if we got Frank to come right back in and then get voted right back out, I think that would be a super fun television. I also don't think he would get voted right back out. I think Frank would, as Alex alluded to earlier, I think we'd see a little bit of BB14 Beast Mode Frank, which would be, I think it would be fun to watch, at least more so than this current Frank that we're seeing. Let's take another question. This one is from Not John Fincher. Not John Fincher says, who do you believe benefits the most from Tiffany leaving, and who should be trying to keep Tiffany, if anyone? Alex, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, it's probably best for Frank, in truth. I mean, Tiffany was super ready to take him out. Like, she didn't really have another target in play. And yeah, I think there are a couple people that it's not a great move for. Tiffany was never going to nominate, like, Nicole. I don't think she'd come after Devon anytime soon. I think there's a few people that probably are incentivized to try to keep her. At this point in the game, though, the question becomes, like, how much of your own social capital are you willing to spend on someone else's life in the game, right? I mean, over the course of the game, we do see that like the more people talk, the more other people get reads on them, and then when people have reads on people who are capable of plotting, then they start to get worried about them. So, it's like you only have so much money in your wallet. How much do you want to, you don't want to go into week 7 broke already. So that's the line that you've got to navigate here.
Taryn, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do think that obviously it benefits the new players immensely. Like, especially the fact that if she doesn't go out, it'll be Paul or Bronte, which is pretty devastating to their whole alliance going on. Paul wouldn't be super devastating to the Spy Girls, but he is definitely an asset to them in a lot of ways, or can be at least. I actually think that Tiffany going could benefit, or Tiffany not going could benefit Frank in a lot of ways, or at least some ways, just in the sense that like he'd at least be alerted to the fact that people are not on board with him anymore, and he'd have like not only would he try more in the competitions to make sure he's safe, but he'd have a week to try to potentially gain that trust back. He'd have like a head start, I guess. But if he's going to go the route of Big Brother 14 Frank and just say, all right, screw it, from here on out, I'm just going beast mode, then we're looking at Tiffany leaving is definitely a good thing for him. Unfortunately, I don't think that's a winning path for him, so honestly, we could be seeing Tiffany not leaving as a potential benefit to his game.
I mean, he really is, though, in so many ways, the Big Brother Ozzy, where it's just like the first time something goes the way he didn't expect. That's it. Free agent. You guys, I'm done. I'm taking you all out, one after another. I'm going to win. You are all losers. Like, it's just... social game, so good.
If only we could see Ozzy play again, and then then we could really like in 2016, if we could get that perspective, then we could really compare the two, because it's been so long since Ozzy has played Survivor.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Hypothetically, of course, if we could see that would just be awesome. Okay. Question from Matt Forsyth, friend of the podcast as well. He says. You met him at RHAPcon, yeah, right? Matt's a really
cool guy.
Yeah, Matt's a really nice guy. He was on the Big Brother Price is Right. The Survivor Price is Right is the one that Matt was on, and he played with Jeremy Collins. So if you remember that, Matt was on that show. He says, of the people who want to get rid of Frank, who would benefit the most and least from Frank's eviction? So basically the opposite of that last question. So Taryn, we'll start with you this time. Who benefits the most from Frank's eviction?
If Tiffany was still in the house, I think Tiffany would benefit the most. Then we're probably looking at maybe someone like Zakiya. I think benefits a lot from Frank leaving, just because I think he is somebody that's going to put heat on her because of his sort of he wants to get Corey and Polly out pretty soon. I think Devon obviously benefits, but I don't think she's in a place where she can, because like a lot of people are targeting her. I think as soon as Frank goes, that's the person that's in front of her on the hit list. So I think they might be next. So I don't think she benefits that much. And then we're also looking at somebody like I think Polly benefits too. I think even though Frank is a target ahead of Polly, I think that without Frank there, Polly has a lot more control over who's left. So I think Polly would benefit a lot as well.
Alex, let's throw the opposite to you then. Who benefits the least from Frank leaving the BB18 house?
Well, obviously, I think Bridget. I think Bridget has put a very large amount of eggs in the Frank basket, and like even if she tried to distance herself from him now, I think it would be hard. Like there's no way she can be seen as like kind of a separate entity from him at this point. She's pretty clearly seen as Frank's puppet, and like that's you don't want to get typecast in the house. You don't want people to like lock you into a role, because that makes people just take your thoughts and opinions for granted and not approach you with new thoughts or ideas. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh, we know where Bridget stands. And you don't want to be in that spot, because then you stop getting information from people. And yeah, I think, just to touch on Devon, I think, it's almost like what Terrence said with, how in some ways Frank would benefit from Tiffany leaving and that he would kind of wake up a bit. I think, even more so than the element of like, Frank is now starting to talk about Devon as a target. I think it would really just like help Devon from like just kind of get her head back in the game a little bit, focus more on what she really came here to do, and not have to be thinking about like the Frank element as well. So I think just in terms of like, refocusing her on the game, I think it would really help her out.
All right, I got another question here. This one's from Evelyn Ferguson. Evelyn says, I'm surprised both Day and Polly are so eager to evict Tiffany and Frank. why not keep at least one as a meat shield? Has there been any talk whatsoever of this whole, keeping a target in front of you thing, Taryn, or no? Is this just something that has been completely overlooked by the players in the house right now?
It hasn't been overlooked. It has been talked about. Like, I mean, Nicole has talked about it with Frank by herself. People have talked about it with Tiffany for sure. It gets brought up, and then it's just like, well, but no, like they're too unstable. Like it's not going to work that way. And it's true. Like if too many people start thinking about, well, we'll keep them around as meat shields, then all of a sudden there are way too many meat shields, and now you're the odd one out because you're one of the few not meat shields, and you get targeted by the meat shields. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful with that strategy. So yeah, it has been considered, but nobody's really going for it.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got a question about where Paulie stands, because when Taryn mentioned it last time, I really wanted to bring up, but forgot that he made a comment today. I think that really just a lot of red warning lights for me. I believe Corey, just talking to him about the possibility of maybe keeping Tiffany, and he basically implied that they're saying like at some point it's gonna be tough to get some of these people out at some point, and he's just basically saying like it was so easy for Derek and Cody. It's not Derek and Cody. It's not tough at all. And like to not recognize that like what Derek did was made to look easy but was not actually easy, to me is like, uh-oh, Paulie. You know what I mean? Like I worry that he thinks that Derek and Cody just like waved the wand and things happened, and he can do it too, and that's like a fundamental and like tragic evaluation of the level of depth and intricacy that Derek put into puppeteering those people.
All right, we got a question. I just think this is I just want to ask Taryn this one. I know the answer to it, but I just think it's funny. This one's from Miss Katie Yance. Would the fact that Frank is still bitter towards Dan 4 years later influence your decision to bring him to jury?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, anyone that wants Frank in jury is an absolute idiot, right? Like he's completely unpredictable, and like even if you say like, oh, I won't be the one that screws him over, he was pissed at everybody last in Big Brother 14, and he's still pissed at everybody. It's not a guarantee that he's going to vote for you. He could find any random thing to be pissed at you more than the other person, and now all of a sudden he's voting for you, that person, and he's going to be like trash talking you in jury the whole time. You don't want that person on the jury, and we've seen people talk about him not wanting him on the jury. So yeah, I definitely, for anybody in a future season, if you're going to be talking about your strategy as a juror, don't talk about how like terribly bitter you'll be until you get to jury at the very least, right?
Jordan, at this point, I'd rather bring a bottle of ketchup to jury, bro.
Is that what he said?
No, he said he would rather vote for a bottle of ketchup than Dan.
Yeah,
I'm bringing it full circle here.
There we go. Okay, question from Doc Cobran, from my buddy Eric. He says, do you guys think the twists have facilitated Bomb Squad 2 and ruined the early part of this game, or is there still hope? I don't know. I kind of like the early part of this game so far, just with how, I mean, I don't think I would have if we just kind of left things stagnant, but with just how the vets have kind of split up and all these new groups are forming, and how, Taryn, you mentioned this chaos is brewing, chaos is coming, sort of like it's like a Song of Ice and Fire. Winter is coming, chaos is coming. We're all feeling it. We just don't know when. It's a matter of when, not if at this point. So, what do you guys think about that, Taryn?
Yeah, I think that the twists have given us a boring first week, a pretty boring second week, and honestly, a pretty boring third week. But we have seen some stuff kind of coming together. So the splinters are getting deeper and deeper, and the chaos, the winter, is definitely coming. I think that the twists are a large part of why they haven't already come. I think that we're kind of getting saved by really bad gameplay, by Frank's chaotic nonsense and Day's just constant, blabbering, and the vets just kind of imploding while the new players are getting it together. It's getting more and more even-handed as far as like knowledge of the game and like ability in the game goes. So I think we're lucky to be coming out of the third week, going into the fourth week in a somewhat good position as far as entertainment goes. And the sooner the twist ends, I think the better.
Yeah, Jordan, chaos is a ladder, and the BB squirrel is on it dressed as a construction worker.
Beautiful.
No, I think really, yeah. I mean, I think I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I believe it's almost like the Survivor Cambodia second chances element, right? You've got some people in there for a second chance. They don't, like, some of them don't even necessarily believe they deserved a second chance or would ever see it come. Nicole has talked about how she never thought she would get this call, but they called her. I think that is an element in these games that creates an added level of competitive edge. You know, these people really don't want to let this slip through their fingers again. They feel like they've already done it once, and that just ratchets up the degree of paranoia, the degree of, like, the will to win, the desperation in getting further, making it one more week. So I think the more people you have in a cast like that, especially if they're not necessarily true all-stars per se, I think that does lead to kind of this crazy cocktail of chaos that we're talking about here.
It is a situation where, like, in a normal game, having a bunch of really good players, I think, makes for very exciting gameplay and very exciting television, just because it's going to be so chaotic. Like, that's sort of what was happening in the very, very early stages of Big Brother 17, where there were a lot of people who knew the game, and it was just total chaos. But with the twist, you kind of have to hope for bad gameplay, because with the twist, good gameplay is going to be very boring, and bad gameplay is going to be exciting. So it kind of flips it around, and that's why I think a lot of people say that we need bad game players. I think you need some bad game players, but you still have to have a ton of good game players to make like an exciting combination, exciting cocktail of a game. But with these twists, we need a ton of bad players in order to get exciting, and that's sort of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, everybody says you need a good mix of bad players, but nobody hates on BB All-Stars. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Chicken George, and then who's next? That's all. That was a great cast of people with winners equity across the board, and everyone loves it. So.
Was Erica a great player? Was Kaser?
I mean, she outsmarted Will.
I mean,
Taryn, don't. Let's not get started.
Are we done now?
But is Kaser a good player? Is Howie a good player? I mean, I don't know. I mean, good.
Well, I'm talking in relatives terms. Like, next to the next best BBC. Like, people say your season was nothing but super fans, dude. But are they, like, really Cindy, Brittany? Like, there's plenty of people I can pick out that weren't, like, diehard fans of the show. I just maintain that until we see something like that, you can't say it wouldn't work.
Yeah, like Big Brother 7 has, like, as far as players go, probably one of the highest amount of, like, player equity, and Big Brother 10 is also probably pretty close to that, and those are two of the best seasons. So,
across the board, right? Yeah, no.
All right, let's take another one. Sticking with the talk about the vote at the end of the season, this one comes from, and I'm sorry, I'm probably going to butcher your last name, Lara Kuipers? How do you...
Should have just stuck with the first name.
Yeah, probably. Lara says, do you think that if a vet makes it to the finals that this group of house guests would take that into consideration when they vote because it's the vet's second chance, or does anyone in the house care about that? I know on 14 there was talk that people didn't want to vote for any of the vets because they had already had a second time playing, or they already had a first chance of playing. Sorry. So Alex, has there been any discussion of that at all this season?
Not so much. I mean, there's been a little discussion of, like, just in broad terms. I feel like not many people are, like, in week 3 talking about, like, a jury vote per se. I mean, there's some discussions of who you want to take to jury based on how they might act in jury, but not, I think, as much about, like, a final 2 situation. Although, I mean, it is, like, to me, like I said, this game being so much more competitive, once you see some of these people who really wanted their second chance to go well, have it not go the way they wanted to, I think that's when we'll really find out for sure whether or not, like, a vet would be actually drawing dead in this game.
Yeah, like what we saw in Big Brother 14 was people in week 3 talking about how they would never vote for a veteran, and I think a large part of that is because of the format, right? The coaches, the way that it was set up when they were, like, immune for the first couple of weeks and they came in the game, it sort of reset the entire thing. It changed it from 8 people to 12 people. Like, there was a lot of other stuff that made people resent the veterans, including the fact that some of them were winners already. So I think that this is a lot closer to, like, Big Brother 13 in terms of how they viewed the veterans than Big Brother 14.
I think it's a good point. Yeah, you have 2 people who were winners, 2 people who were 3-time players at that point, in Janelle and Boogie, and then coupled with the fact that, like, Dan and Boogie represent a, this is unfair element that, like, if you're a super fan like Michelle, you don't necessarily see that in James. You probably think James and can play him off accordingly. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of a different dynamic, I agree.
And they passed the blame off on the coaches when they entered the game. They were like, well, it wouldn't have happened if they hadn't chose to. So.
Very true. Okay, this question comes from Cinefic on Twitter at CineficB. Cinefic says, "Is Paulie really into Zakiya, Taryn?"
I think that I mean, he's a Calafiore, right? Like, I'm not sure that he's super into her. From what I'm seeing, it's starting to seem, I mean, this is all guesswork at this point, to be honest, because neither of them have really talked about it too much. They definitely cuddle a lot, but it seems like that, you get senses from both of them, like they might be playing each other. I think that they're both aware that neither of them is fully committed to it, so they're both trying to be like, well, I'm not completely in it. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe Zakiya's a little more into Paulie than Paulie's into Zakiya. I think that Paulie's an experienced Calafiore. I think that he knows the cuddle language quite well, and so if I had to guess, I would say it goes in that direction.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, although I'd like to point out that I called my shot on the show last week when I referenced Cody doing the the party boy dance for Jocasta, because last night Paulie channeled his brother's lap dancing abilities and did a similar dance for Zakiya. Those Calafiore boys, they really know how to shake it for Washington's, Jordan.
And he said that was only a 6. He could have gone to a 10, but that would have been appropriate for the feeds.
Whoa. Okay.
Real magic Mike over at that household,
Yeah, that's so interesting. They know they specialize in kissing their dad and in stripping those Calafiore bros.
Hey, they had to learn it from somewhere. I would be willing to bet that Dad Calafiore is like a guru. He's like the original guru in terms, like, he wrote the book on like how to talk to women.
Wait, go ahead, Terry.
I want to study at the Calafiore school of cuddling. Like their game is like top notch. I'm like a much lower. Okay, I'm an amateur.
You're an amateur. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
they're like the experts. They're the top of their game. They're like, it's the Olympics of cuddling, and the Calafiores are gold, silver, and bronze. It's ridiculous.
Alex, you're doing the A. That's never going to get old for me. I love that.
Well, I especially love it because, like, anytime that we get like a good 5 seconds of dead air, I'm just going to drop it. Like,
no, it's a very good move, my friend. Well done. It's an experienced veteran here, Alex Kidwell, that we're dealing with. Okay, this question comes from Tyson Apostle at Fat Tyson Apostle. So not the real Tyson Apostle. Yeah, the fat one. The real Tyson Apostle never messages or sends in questions. It's always these parody accounts that send in messages from Tyson.
We need to start a campaign to get Tyson to ask us a question.
Exactly, right? Get the real Tyson on here. He says, what Pokemons are in the BB-18 house? Alex, I know you got Pokemon Go last week. You were talking about getting it. I believe it's Pokemon, not Pokemons, but I just think Pokemons sounds funnier. So which Pokemons do you think are in the BB-18 house, Alex?
That reminds me of when The Simpsons made fun of Bill Cosby and had him go, the Pokey and the Mons and the... Yeah. I don't know. I think the problem with being so locked into live feeds and, RHAPcon and everything right now is that I've had to sacrifice my my training. And so as a result, I'm a real embarrassment to my generation. My dad is like killing me in Pokemon Go right now. He's like,
what?
Way higher level than I'm ever going to get to, I think, at this point. So
that's the start of the Pokemon games, though, isn't it? Like, oh, your dad is like some legend. No, his dad was like the leader of the Rocket League, right? Giovanni?
No, that wasn't. Was that his dad?
Or I feel like that's way too dark a twist, Taryn. This game was not like Taryn's like crossed this up with like Peaky Blinders in his head or something.
No, this is totally true. I totally remember this. Giovanni is somebody important's dad.
Oh, Brock. No. Brock. He's Brock's dad. You're right. Total Blindside. Yeah.
Okay. This is crazy. We need to have a separate Pokemon podcast for me to learn all these things that I did not learn. I guess nobody told me this stuff when I was 5, and that's why I'm so stunned right now.
Jordan, you got to try to be the very best, like no one ever was.
To train them is my call. Okay. Let's take another one. We got 2 more here. Let's start to wind things down on this edition of the RHAPpy Hour. This one comes from Logan Elliott at Logan__Elliott on Twitter. Logan says, if Frank wins HOH this week, do you think he'll go after Davon? Does he know that she's gunning for him? Taryn, what do you think? If Frank wins this one, where's he going?
Let's see. I think that Devon is going to. I mean, he talks about so many different targets. It's hard to know which one he's going to go with. Devon is going to be up there. He's definitely going to consider Corey, and it'll probably be Devon or Corey, and with a tiny like hint of Michelle.
Okay, interesting. He seriously wants to put up Michelle after just because of that conversation?
I mean, like it's very much like the Tiffany thing, where like he like kind of pissed her off, and they had an exchange, and then they had another exchange, and then from that moment it like just built and built. It's very much like that. Like now that he doesn't like Michelle, he's gonna find more reasons to not like Michelle.
Yeah, if you fight with him once, Jordan, he's like concerned about you. If you fight with him twice, like I mean, he's confident that you're someone that he needs to, take out. Like you're someone whose social game he just can't work with.
Wow, Frank.
We just
really
clashed too much. I can't work with this person.
Frank really is like Ozzy. Wow, it's embarrassing.
Yeah. And of course, Frank can't target Michelle because she's on his team. But like, who cares?
Michelle in hindsight had the best draft of anyone, because the two people that would take her out are the two people that can't right now. So really worked out well for her there.
Yeah, good for Michelle. Don't want to see her going yet. Although maybe that would be good for Ian, because then they could hang out in the real world. But at the same time, I want to see more Big Mish. That was really awesome last night. Okay, last question, guys. It's a very important one. This comes from Brian ZG. Brian says, Jody or Glenn? Very tough question, guys. I don't know. I'm so torn. I don't think I can choose.
It might be too fresh, but I gotta go Jody. I just feel like maybe Glenn's legacy will get there in time. Maybe we'll see something. Maybe he'll get his face on an air freshener in a comp. But the legacy of Jody, I'm sorry, she was the Messiah before the Messiah. Like it's just there was always there is now a Glenn. But before there was ever a Glenn, there was a Jody.
Here's the thing about Jen versus Glody. Jen
versus Glody. Whoa.
Jen versus Jody. Oh my God, that's a Jen. Glenn versus Jody.
Jen versus City.
Is that Glenn's story is not over yet. He could win the battle back. It's very improbable, but it could happen.
He will rise.
Yes, then Glenn will return. But if he doesn't, then I've got to go with Glenn, because nobody wanted to evict Glenn. He just lost a competition.
But I have so much love for that. Like, thanks guys, as Jody walks out the door.
Yeah, Glenn, just because he's a dog groomer, and I think that's the big thing for me. Just envisioning Glenn in his he's a mobile dog groomer, so in his little that little van that he has driving around giving dogs haircuts. I think that's the funniest thing ever. So has nothing to do with game, but. Give me Glenn, and yeah, I believe in Glenn. He will rise from the ashes just like the Dark Knight, and he will be the prince that was promised, the true prince that was promised. We thought it was Jose, but no, I'm putting my money on Glenn. And I can't wait till he's back.
It's never the person you first suspect, Jordan.
But also, I love this idea that he's been in sequester this whole time. Like, I made an Old Boy reference in the Big Brother panel that one person got, but I love this idea that he's just been sitting in this hotel room for so long, and he's gonna come out just crazed with his eyes beat red, and he's just gonna be like, ah.
Yeah, I said,
bash people's heads in with hammers, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, if he's been using his time productively, he should look like Brock Lesnar right now, and he should just be ready to just pummel these people into submission.
So you're saying that Glenn could beat up Mark Hunt now?
If he used his time productively, I think I would give him a shot. Absolutely.
And who would have thought we'd be using UFC and Pokemon references in a podcast about Big Brother live feeds?
Hey, we like to stretch our Venn diagram, so hopefully we touch on something that interests you here.
Exactly right.
The Venn diagram.
The Glenn diagram, yes.
Glenn diagram.
All right, well, that is going to do it, guys, for this edition of the Reality TV RHAPpy Hour. We thank you very much for joining us. I had so much fun. It sucks that we didn't have Brent, but Alex, Taryn, I know you guys are playing hurt a little bit right now, coming back, fresh back from Chicago and RHAPCon. So it means a lot that you guys were able to come on here, and you guys did a great job, as per usual. For those of you in the chat, if you guys could start brainstorming some hashtags, that would be great. I would really appreciate that. Just a few programming notes. If you want to check out this show again next week, and if you like this one, you can subscribe to the RHAPpy Hour. You can go to robhasawebsite.com/RHAPpy Hour. You can, and while you're there, you can leave a review for the podcast for 3 people at the end of the season. We're going to be doing a Skype draw, a random draw for a Skype call with me, a 30-minute Skype call with me at the end of the season. We can talk about whatever you want. I did it at the end of the Big Brother Canada season. I've had a bunch of people leave some reviews, so thank you already for those of you who have left reviews. And if you've already left one, you're already automatically entered into the contest, unless you haven't, as long as you haven't won before. For example, so here's a review. This one was from Johnny D. Silvera, Canuck for Liberty on Twitter. Johnny he won the Big Brother Canada 4 draw that we did at the end of that season. Johnny's review was it was 5 stars. He says, Jordan's a regular, #604Prapa, #brochacho. He said, the best Big Brother Canada podcast around, along with the live feed correspondence. You get all the information you need from the latest episodes and the latest goings-on inside the house. I never miss podcast that always leaves you entertained with all the fixins. So just something simple like that. Or, you know what, honestly, if you leave 5 stars, you can say whatever you want. You can make fun of me. You could even rip on me. If you give me 5 stars and you make fun of me, I will read it on the podcast. So all you need is just give me 5 stars. That's all I'm asking, is those 5-star ratings. So if you want to go over and do that, greatly appreciated. Okay, guys, let's take a look at some of these hashtags here. First, Alex, Taryn, do you guys have any ideas, or is there anything in the chat that really stood out to you?
I do. I don't. We got a tweet already with you and Devin, Jose, Glenn, Rennie, and Ginger Ninja in the background.
Oh my gosh! Did we actually?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! That is amazing, Ethan Brooks. Thank you so much. That is so awesome. That is the best background. I think we're going to use that as the best for the show. So Ethan Brooks, @Ferocious Ethan, and Ethan, for that, I'm going to follow you right now on the podcast, right live on the show. I just sent you a follow. So thank you very much, Ethan. That's a really great picture.
Okay. So I've got.
Go ahead,
sorry,
Alex.
I was just going to say I've got 2 pitches for you for hashtags that I like.
Okay.
The first one is #feline takeover.
Okay.
And the second one, alluding to kind of Michelle's quirkiness in that, private hammock room, just like Steve, 50 Shades of Steve Moses, I saw throughout in the chat room. I think that's pretty great.
Okay, 50 Shades of Steve Moses, and somebody in the chat just said, please retweet that, Jordan. I did retweet it, so if you want to go check that picture out, it's there. Well done, Ethan. That was great.
I'm seeing a lot of Glenn diagrams.
Glenn diagram.
That's pretty good, too.
Or Glenn diagram, or was it Jen versus Glody? Do we want to? I kind of like Jen versus Glody.
But how do you spell Glody?
Glody, Glodi, because that's how Jody spells it with an I believe. So there we go. So Jen versus Glody is what we're gonna go with. You can follow us all on Twitter if you haven't already, but who you can, I'm sure you do already. But in case not, I'm @Jordan Parhar. Alex is @Alex Kidwell, and Taryn is @Armstrong Taryn. Alex, any final thoughts tonight before we wrap up?
I'm going to bed, Jordan. Stop pestering me.
Okay, so Alex is going to bed. He's very tired. Taryn, any final thoughts from you?
I mean, I just had the most amazing weekend in Chicago, and everyone that came out for that, like, thank you so much. It was seriously incredible. The next time this happens, everybody needs to come. It's so incredible, and the panel was awesome. Andy was awesome. Audrey was awesome. I met Matt Hoffman, and he was awesome. And I just thank you so much for everyone that made this possible, that I could go to a place like that and just have such a great time with all of you awesome, wonderful people. Just thank you so much.
Well said, Taryn. I'm really bummed that I did not get to go, and next year, I'm coming. I don't care where it is. If it's in Timbuktu, I'm coming. I don't care where the RHAPcon is. I'm not missing out again.
Yeah, we talked about this pre-show, and I felt I know what it feels like to be like a reward challenge winner on Survivor, like coming back from eating all the food and then like having to talk about it with like the people who are starving. That's how I felt in the pre-show.
It wasn't that great, man. I don't care what the pictures, posts, and every notion in your head is telling you. It wasn't that great.
Oh man. That's the perfect analogy, Taryn. Well done. You and Alex you're killing it with those analogies lately. All right, well that's gonna do it for this edition of the RHAPpy Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. For Alex Kidwell and Taryn Armstrong, I'm Jordan Parhar. #Jen versus Glody. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace out.